Welcome to Winning in the Margins with Jeff and Jamion. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Jamie. And how about you?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to see you and great to be on this platform with you again.
Yeah, same here. Look forward to today.
Good. One of my more interesting topics that you and I both talk a lot about, and so I wanted to get this on tape because I felt like it can be so powerful to a lot of people, and it's this idea of the ability of owning your story. And what that does for a person in terms of their motivation, moving forward, being able to move past some things. So I'm really interested to dive into this conversation with you.
Owning your story. I was just at a middle school for the last 3.5 hours doing a school assembly with them and talked about owning your story a lot. And it's really cool to see and eye-opening to see through the eye of a middle schooler. I also talked with my daughter about this, told her we were going to be talking about owning your story and wanted to capture what she thought and the simplicity that's provided. This makes so much sense. Why is it important to own your story? Because it's you. That way, it's as simple as that. I'm going to elaborate a little bit just because that's what I do. If you don't know you, then this is what another middle schooler said today. If we don't own our story will end up being a big mess. My daughter this weekend said, if you are operating out of fear and embarrassment, which we were specifically talking about fear and embarrassment, that's why those words came up. And that's what stops us. I think we both agree with that. That stops us from owning our story. Then you might not be who you actually are. And we ran into that today on stage, and the middle schoolers do a tremendous job of breaking it down. Owning your story is all about valuing and appreciating who you are, valuing and appreciating the tough times, the rough times, the weaknesses that some folks want to hide. And I'll rephrase that. Most of us want to hide from the world because they create crazy thoughts, or we're told by our friends or our family or the TV that we're not supposed to think that way. We're not supposed to do that. And then that even becomes chaotic because now we're supposed to tell all of our vulnerabilities. That's like the new big thing, is to tell all of your vulnerabilities. But where it gets confusing is that it's not about telling your vulnerabilities. It's about knowing who you are and owning who you are, so that within the struggles, within the weaknesses, within the drug-infested homes, within the homes where anger is prevalent or overwhelming, we understand that within all of that, we're a champion. And those are just a piece to our pie. And if I don't understand that I'm a champion, then I will fail to own my story. And I'll do things like that middle schooler that said, quite simply, you'll stop being you.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Like, one thing, you get a chance to go in and work with the youth. They're how refreshing they are and how honest they are, with their perspective is honestly so refreshing. What's that like? You're walking in there and you're talking about fear and embarrassment. And I would think that at that age, you're feeling fear and embarrassment probably as much as you're feeling love and appreciation. So that's so close to the surface for those young people.
And that's the whole point for us to show up to a middle school, is the fear and embarrassment. They're neck deep in it. They have learned it fully. And we're either going this way or we're going that way. This is the time. And going into those, and going this way means I'm going to continue being myself. Going that way means I'm going to fit into every single crowd that will accept me. And there's very few that go the way of continuing to be themselves. And there's a whole lot that go the way of fitting in. So when we're in that school today, and Rich rocked the house, man. He's on another level with the way he brings it. I can't wait for you to see some of the highlights of today's show. But they gobbled the words, never give up, get back up. He's just dynamite in what he's bringing to their heart. And then the role that I play is to bring the words of the music to life for the kids. But you're in there and you start to watch and you start to see who's embarrassed, who's going to make the first move. And so, sometimes we're in a rough school where life beats people up at 2 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and they continue to continue through life being everything but a champion. And then you get the folks that continue to go through life, and they run into the kids that have stopped being themselves, and now it's not cool to be yourself anymore, so you're fitting in. And so that was the whole point of today. You're going to have a small selection that are still excitable, that have that childlike spirit, ready to jump, ready to scream, ready to shout. If I'm meant to dance, it's time to dance. If I'm meant to go hard and coach asks us to go hard, I'm going to run that sprint with everything I got, and I can't wait to high five a few people on my way out. And then you have words like these: bored, I don't feel like doing that, I'd rather do this, man, coach is crazy. That's where we start to empty our heart, and we have to pay attention to who it is we are. And we start to go to those distracting words when we forget, or we never understand in the first place, that the person that's looking in the mirror is a champion. So we're there to remind some. We're there to help for the first time others. And we're there for every single one of them to own their story on the way out from that day forward for the rest of their life. And knowing that the challenges are meant to be taken on, and their very story has the strength in the very individual that they are to take everything on if they just continue being themselves.
Yeah, I love that message for everyone, but especially for those as they're kind of maturing in. We've talked so much about owning your story, you and I, off camera, off mic, and I feel like it just gives you so much strength. Like, the one thing that's beautiful about owning your story is that your strengths, your weaknesses more than anybody else does, and having a chance to have strong awareness. You think about like Superman. You think about these superheroes that we love. Superman knows what kryptonite does to him. His awareness of what he can and can't do is at the highest level. Now, typically we look at these superheroes and we think, they can do anything. But the truth of it is they have amazing awareness. And I always feel like when people own their story, they have an incredible ability to have awareness, and that gives you an incredible amount of strength to go and do whatever needs to be achieved.
When you talk about the awareness, you have to be strong in your mind and in your heart to want to have awareness, or we start to lose ourselves, and then we start to become someone else. So when you say Superman has a great awareness, well, Superman knows his mission. He knows his role here on earth. And if he doesn't understand his weaknesses, if he doesn't understand his struggles, then at the time that it's meant for the Superman role, we're not going to be able to play that role. And everybody has a Superman in them. Everybody has a Spider-Man within. And we've got to remember who we are in order for our role to make the difference that this world's asking it to.
Yeah, so many people would talk to me. We had some, I was a basketball coach for a long time. We brought in, we'd come in and kind of change these programs around pretty quickly. And people would always ask me, what are the different things you would do? And number one thing we would do, or one of the many things I should say, was this power of it, helping everybody in that locker room own their story, and not being afraid of, man, we had a bad season the year before. Well, let's own it. Let's own the reasons why we had a bad. Like, if you own your story, then you can own your life. And you're not allowing anyone else to control the narrative about your life. And I love what you said there. You talk about distracting words and phrases, the ability to deflect it. The human body has an unbelievable ability to deflect responsibility and deflect ownership at an unbelievable rate. And when you're talking about having true ownership, it's not allowing yourself to deflect. It's allowing yourself to take it in, to enjoy it or not enjoy it, but to understand what it's doing to you. I love that phrase, deflecting and distracting words. I think that's really rich. And I think, when you have a list of phrases and words that you use to deflect, you can really coach yourself out of deflecting and coach yourself into tremendous ownership.
And it's, we alluded to this the last time we talked in regards to pain. Our mind is first going to tell us to deflect. We have to overcome that with knowing who we are. And so as we were talking about the race car driver, or actually, I don't know if I was talking with you about the race car driver.
Well, let's share it now.
Okay. I was watching this. I believe it's called F1. I started training a race car driver. So now I'm like learning about race car driving. So there's this show on Netflix, and I can't remember the name of it offhand. And I'm paraphrasing what I'm about to say, but they go into these hard turns, and they're going 200 to 300 miles an hour. And this gentleman that was talking in this specific episode, he says, your mind's telling you brake, brake, brake. And the people on that level are saying, hold, 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 until the very last minute. And it's the person that doesn't brake that ends up being the champ. And then you're looking to put your brakes on as fast as you can at the top. That transitions into basketball, cross country, running, soccer. I don't care what it is. Yep. Ultimately, the mind is going to protect us first. And so we've got to understand whether our mind's protecting us or whether it's stopping us. And when you go into any game, I can go in saying, this is the second best team in the nation. They've beat us twice. Or I can go in and fight again. And you know what? We might end up on the short end of the stick once again. But if I'm willing to fight with everything I have, I'm not going in saying I'm beat already. I'm not going in saying, let off the throttle. There's no reason to do this. I'm going in saying, let's give them heck. And the scoreboard will be what it is. The whole point to that, using a few different examples, is that our mind is gonna bring us that protection from pain first. And so we just have to make sure that what it seems like it's protecting us from is accurate, or is it stopping us short? Do we need to hold, and then brake? Or do we need a break right away when it seems like we're getting overwhelming?
Yeah, there's so many great analogies, especially for movies. I'm thinking of Top Gun, the second Top Gun, Maverick, that just came out.
Yeah.
At the beginning of that movie, he has to go Mach 10 and to keep the project going. And no man's ever gone Mach 10. He just needs to get to Mach 10. And, Maverick has an ability to get to push boundaries and to push himself further.
That's a perfect example.
It's sort of interesting. That machine that he's driving is sort of like your brain, and it's saying it only can get to Mach 10. But if you go a little bit further, you can get to Mach 10.1, 10.2, 10.3. Now he does crash at the end of it because he pushes his boundaries, but recognizing, like you said, where your brain is trying to protect you, and trying to hold you back, and where you can push that functionality, I do think is really important.
Yeah, and when you say he crashed at the end, his mind didn't crash. At the end, He knew he had to push to a level. You have to understand your mission, and his mission was to get in, get out, but first and foremost, get his troops out.
Yeah,
the people that were under him. His mission wasn't necessarily to come back. If that happened, great. And so he crashed because he enabled his mind to take himself to the limit.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of, and I mean, Maverick's a great example of owning your story.
Yeah.
His humility through that entire movie is pretty unique, recognizing, you go through that entire movie, he's talking about, how he lost his buddy in the first movie, obviously Goose. And so that's a big part of the storyline, how he wants to take care of other people. So it's a good movie, actually, when you talk about owning your story. And he knows he's going to push it to a limit, and everybody there knows he's going to push it to a limit. And that's sort of why you get the Maverick call.
That's owning your story just takes everything to another level.
Yeah. I'm sitting here taking some great notes, and I'm thinking, I think something that'd be great for our audience is, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to try to answer it, and I'd love for you to interject. Why should I own my story? And number one, it gives you great power. And power is like playing tug of war with yourself versus others. Only one of you can have the power. All right. And so if I take the power in owning my story, then I take it away from others. Number two, it grants you awareness from the soul. If you look at the soul and you think about it, like the soul of a person is sort of like the nutrients that allow a tree to grow big and strong. And so anytime you can find a way to grant awareness from the soul, you're only allowing yourself to grow bigger and stronger. What else would you say? Why should I own my story?
Because your story matters. You may be in a school where you have no friends. And when you have no friends, what's that doing for you? It's creating an opportunity. If I only look inward at what I don't have, then I take everything away from what that opportunity is providing me. That school might not be my purpose in life. What that school's setting up for me might be my purpose in life. Let's say I'm an artist. What does having no friends do? It allows me to be disciplined. It just creates discipline to pour into my artwork. What if I have no friends and I'm a basketball player, or I love the game of basketball, but I can't quite yet make the team? What does it allow me to do? It allows me to dribble endlessly. It allows me to take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shots daily. And what I can tell you is that when you become good in anything, but more important, when you become great in whatever it is you're doing, people want to be around that. They have a desire to be around that. And so if we let our greatness dissipate because someone else doesn't understand all the beauty we have inside, then we're taking away everything that we're meant to be. Our role is who we are. It's not who someone else says we are. And so in a specific arena, my role may look like this. In life, the role I'm playing, if it's mine, will have great purpose. And that purpose will be a part of, I'll speak your language, coach, a championship ball team. Because it is great purpose. It is great discipline. It is a mission that we fully understand. And it is everybody playing their role in just the way it's supposed to be played, but in all different areas that lead us to win the championship. And so why do we need to own our story? Because it's not about us. It's about something much bigger.
Yeah, I'm gonna close this segment off with this. Why should you own your story? When you own your story, you constantly find a way to give yourself hope, and you constantly find ways to give others hope. It's like that extra step that you got to make. You can always find a way to make it when you own your story. If you don't own your story, you're allowing the baggage from the past to weigh you down. When you own it, that baggage becomes like a propeller, and it really lifts you up and takes you to another level. I also often wonder when I work with our players, I don't know if you can be great if you're not willing to go and own your story, because you're always going to have baggage holding you back unless you own it.
I believe it's impossible. And I know you said you were going to wrap up, but if you wouldn't mind, to believe is to know is to have endless hope. And the more you own your story, the more you're going to believe, because you're the person that's meant for your story. And the more you believe, the more you'll know you're meant for your story. And the more you know, the more hope you'll have in every situation that your story brings along to continue to be the champion that exists within. Play your role.
Thanks for joining us today on Winning in the Margins. Today's topic was owning your story. Like, share, interact. We'll see you soon.